Alright, welcome 10YF nerds to our mid-season recap. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. About 2 sentences for each team here that I have written down. Let's get right into it. Arizona, starting 3-3. They're dominated early, have the top rushing attack, but they face 5-1 Houston in a need-to-win capacity. This Big 12 is clumped together with a lot of teams that can see this conference championship game in just a few weeks. Arizona State will not be a part of that. They are winless in the Big 12 thus far, with quarterback Sam Levitt averaging 3 interceptions a game. Went from one of the top-ranked quarterbacks being looked at prospectus-wise to near the bottom, you would think. Clemson in the ACC is undefeated. They took down top 10 Southern Methodist University this week and are currently your 10YF favorite to win the Natty here in Season 1. Your home team, the Colorado Buffaloes, on bye this week. We did start 5-2, but Utah and West Virginia on the road will determine our season. Playing well these past few weeks, but a tough schedule lays ahead. Duke quietly leading a 6-1 season with an undefeated conference schedule, but they do face number 2 Clemson in Week 10. If they can somehow make it past that, they will be the favorites for your ACC title. Moving on to Mr. Cody Rockets, UF Florida, started 4-3 with the toughest schedule of the season the last month, but he dropped all 3 of them. LSU, Texas, and I believe Oklahoma. I'm not looking at the schedule currently. His offense inconsistent but very much explosive. It is ranking near the top of the league in yardage per game. Moving on to another SEC fella, the Georgia Bulldogs, who are 4-2 with tough losses to Tennessee and Bama, but they do have Florida and Texas at home that will bring them top tier momentum if they can take down both of them. Iowa, 6-1. They're playing gritty football over there in the flyover state. They just lost to top-ranked Penn State, but that former FCS quarterback Mark Gronowski is playing well behind a dominant defense. If that continues, you could definitely look to see them in the Big Ten title game. LSU, another dominant team, 6-1. They dropped their opening bout to Clemson, but has been dominant since then. Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier throwing bombs, and the defense holding up very nicely for Mr. Jazzy there. They're ranked alongside Clemson as my natty favorite. I'd probably have them both around we're going to go plus 300 odds just because there's another team in this contest that we'll look to later down the line. Miami in the ACC, starting 5-1. They did drop their opening contest to top 5 Notre Dame. Most of the contests since then have been close one-score matchups, but they did beat their in-state rival Florida and have top 10 SMU in Week 10 that will most likely determine who sees a spot in the ACC championship game. May not be my home team this year in 10YF, but the Michigan Wolverines have taken down who they need to, but they lost to top 10 Oklahoma and Nebraska on the road. They'll need to win out for a shot in the Big Ten title game. Speaking of Nebraska, these Cornhuskers have been on fire. They do take on Penn State and Iowa to end the season, which will be very tough bouts in their own respective rights, but they are the title favorites if they can do so. You take down number 1 Penn State and edge top 10 team Iowa. They're going in the playoffs streaking hot and would most likely finish the season undefeated. If so, they do have some CPU competition in between now and then. UNC is 3-2 with 2 home losses. They do have an unranked schedule to end the year, but that ACC is a tough-oriented matchup over there. We'll see if Cakes can get it done. In the Havoc Clan, we're going over to Notre Dame. Of course, dominant user with dominant wins throughout the season. Faces 6-1 Pittsburgh in Week 12. But other than that, the competition is not very hard. He should be able to make it in the playoffs as that number 5 team he looked to when starting the season. We have Ohio State, who is 6-1 with a tough loss to Washington on the road. I believe the game will determine the championship spot, whether it's Ohio State or Michigan. Oklahoma. Let's talk about Oklahoma for a second. These dudes have been dominating teams in and out to start the season. Of course, Drew getting it done in Arizona. You give him John Mateer, he's going to do it even better. NFL level offense, taking down 4 top 25 teams through 7 games. But they do have the toughest schedule to end of the year. When I was looking at it, I did see LSU, and I believe they just took down Texas, but they have a few more tough games in there. If Drew can get it done, this season is going to be very fun to watch. Oklahoma State, let's talk about their in-state rivals. They are 6-1 and took down Oregon in Autzen to begin the season, but they did drop about to 5-1 Houston, who has been very sneaky there in the Big 12, CPU-controlled team. He has Texas Tech on the road this week, and would solidify great odds at retaining a spot in the Big 12 championship game if he can get it done. Oregon, 5-2. We have, in the notes, inconsistent offense with talks of multiple quarterbacks starting. Of course, Dante Moore from Michigan got benched in a few of those contests. And just not a good look over there in Eugene. They do have Iowa and UW on the road. If they can get past those two, there you're looking at another top contender. That offense, that roster in general, is pretty loaded with weapons across the board. Move over to another dominant Big Ten. We're talking about these Power 4 conferences. Let's talk about the top-ranked team, Penn State, undefeated, and should be in the competition for title game. Of course, you would like to rank them amongst the top in terms of odds for that title game. I'm going to place them at number 4, maybe even 5. Number 3 has yet to be revealed. I like Oklahoma up there. Of course, I like Clemson and LSU. Let's move on. Penn State, we'll get it done. Pittsburgh, another quiet 6-1 team that lost a thriller against West Virginia on the road. And their season will be determined with Notre Dame and Miami to end. Southern Methodist University. Kevin Jennings has been a Heisman contender throughout the season. They are a top 10 team, but they did drop their contest to Clemson this week and faces top 10 Miami. That will be the game of the week here in just a few weeks, week 10. I can see them in the ACC title game as well. We're looking at Miami, SMU, Clemson, even Pittsburgh. All have shots, great shots, to be in that ACC title game. It's going to be a race to the finish here. South Carolina and the SEC is not going to be in their respective conferences talks to make the title game. They do have tough losses to top 5 teams, but it doesn't get any easier. Lenore Sellers has balled out, but will need to command the offense better to potentially sneak in the playoffs. And that's where you'd want to be. You don't want to play the championship game if you can get yourself in the playoffs, because that's one last game you got to play, albeit the next one's on the road, most likely. TCU, top aura, not a top-ranked team. They most likely sealed their Big 12 championship game potential with a loss to Baylor this week. But the Chrome helmets, I imagine for Mr. Pump there, makes all the difference. He doesn't care about the record. He cares about wearing those chromey domies. Tennessee, another undefeated team. They're in the SEC. Tough wins against Georgia and Alabama, but they'll need to head out west with a game against Oklahoma that will determine that SEC championship spot. Texas, 2 losses, both of them They needed to win, in my opinion, to establish themselves at the top as the top dog. They dropped that opening bout to Ohio State, and they did get beat in the Red River Shootout against Oklahoma. However, if they finish the season undefeated, you get a home playoff game. Texas A&M, moving across the state, has lost all 3 ranked contests and another 3 that would see them in the playoffs with a miracle stretch if they can take down LSU and Texas on the road and then come back and play against South Carolina. Texas Tech. Oh, we got a lot of Texas teams in here, don't we? The Tortilla Land has both losses in the Big 12, but their offense has been on fire recently. 52 points against Kansas, 44 against Arizona State. Could they see themselves as a potential number 12 team in the playoffs? You could count me in with a strong end to the season. Utah, Utes against everyone this season. Yet again, the Utes are dominating 10YF for another year. They have BYU on the road this week, and then against your lovely commentator next week to determine who the top Big 12 team is going to be. Virginia Tech, they are another sneaky team, 6-1. Tough loss against Vandy to start the season, but otherwise it's been pretty impressive. They go against Louisville and Miami at home. That will get them into the promised land, I believe, with a win against both. Let's talk about that number 3 team I was mentioning earlier, UW. Washington has obviously a top user dominating the Big Ten, but it's been their quarterback, Heisman contending Demon Williams Jr. He'll go on the road to the Big House and back home to face Oregon to end this season. But the user makes a lot of difference there. He's been top offense, top defense. Let's talk about our last 2 teams. West Virginia, 6-1 with the toughest Big 12 schedule left in the league. I believe they're another team that can sneak into that playoff conversation if they end strong. And then last but most likely least is Wisconsin, 1-6. They're off the rails this season. It's been a difficult schedule, but they need to find something to salvage the season against Oregon, UW, or Indiana, all ranked teams on the road to a tough off season. So, with this information provided, we've seen it's already been a hectic season, but just you wait for the second half, because we see a lot of teams in these Power 4 conferences ready for a playoff spot in turns for potential stardom. That's just this season. Wait till the off season. That's going to be even crazier. But for now, I'm going to sign off. Mr. Curly Fry delivering you some top tier 10YF content. Thank you very much.